and welcome to Web English video lessons. Today's class is conditionals, sometimes called if clauses. We use conditionals to talk about situations, real or unreal, and probable results or consequences of these situations. Conditionals are made up of two clauses, the if clause and the main clause. If you go shopping later, will you buy me a can of Coke? The rule. When you start a sentence with if, you must use a comma to separate the clauses. If I could, I'd retire tomorrow. When you use the main clause at the beginning, there is no comma. I'd retire tomorrow if I could. Examples. Say these with me for good pronunciation. If you heat water to 100 degrees, it boils. If it rains tomorrow, we won't go to the beach. If I won the lottery, I'd buy an island in the Caribbean. If you had worked harder at university, you would have passed your degree. If you hadn't drunk so much alcohol last night, you wouldn't have a hangover today. Zero conditional. Structure. If plus present simple plus present simple. If you can't sleep, drink a cup of milk. If Peter calls, tell him to call back later. Rule. To talk about something that is always or usually true, a routine, a fact, or a habit. If means the same as when in this case. When you can't sleep, drink a cup of milk. Also, to give instructions or strong advice. First conditional. Structure. If plus present simple plus will plus infinitive. If you hurry, you'll catch your flight. If it doesn't rain, we'll go for a walk. The rule. To talk about a likely situation and its probable result. Also, to give advice, warnings and promises. I'll hit you if you do that again, a warning. Or, if you clean the car, I'll give you £5, a promise. There are many different grammatical forms for the first conditional, and here are some of them. I suggest you pause this slide and study this table. Second conditional. Structure. If plus past simple plus would plus infinitive. If I were taller, I'd be much more confident. If climate change happens, the UK would be under 10 metres of water. The rule. To talk about an unlikely situation or imaginary situation and its result. It's also used as an expression to give advice. If I were you, I'd. Here, I'd like you to think about what advice would you give for the following situations. Use your if clause, if I were you, I'd, and finish the sentence for each one. Pause this slide and do this exercise. Okay, the answers, or my answers. A headache. If I were you, I'd drink some water. Can't sleep. If I were you, I'd take some sleeping pills. A hangover. I'd go back to bed. Sometimes you can exclude the if clause. Dizzy or faint. If I were you, I'd sit down for a bit. A nosebleed. If I were you, I'd hold your head back. Flu or influenza. If I were you, I'd take some medicine. Wife or husband's having an affair. If it was me, I'd file for divorce. Slightly different form. Won £1 million. I'd go on a world travelling trip if I were you. Changing the clause around. Okay. Third conditional. Structure. If plus past perfect plus would plus have plus past participle. If we had hurried, we wouldn't have missed the plane. If he hadn't made a mistake, he would have passed his driving test. The rule. To speculate or to talk about possible situations in the past which didn't happen. You can use different phrases here. For example, wish plus past participle. I wish I hadn't made the mistake. Or I can use regret. I regret making that mistake. Okay, here's a small exercise for you to do. Jim is taking Sandra on a first date. What did Jim do wrong? Look at the pictures and create 2 sentences using the third conditional. Pause the slide and write. You may find it easier to start with if Jim for the first picture. Okay, answers. First picture. If Jim had taken Sandra to a romantic film, she wouldn't have been so frightened. Second picture. If Jim had gone to an expensive restaurant, Sandra would have been much happier. Okay, mixed conditional structure. If plus past perfect plus would plus infinitive. If I had married Joanne, I'd be happier now. If I hadn't drunk so much alcohol last night, I wouldn't be feeling so bad today. The rule: to connect a possible past event with the present or the future. You can use different phrases here. Wish plus past participle. I wish I hadn't drunk so much. Or, I regret drinking so much. Important points to consider with conditionals. Will plus would can be replaced with should or could in certain sentences. If we're going to invite John, we should invite Tom too. If the traffic hadn't been so bad, we could have got here earlier. We also use linking words like unless, meaning if not. Unless you finish your vegetables, you won't have any dessert. We also use as long as and provided that, and this is that the condition must be met. So, as long as you work hard, you'll succeed in life, or provided that you work hard, you'll succeed in life. Provided that is more formal than as long as, but they mean the same. Okay, if you would like more worksheets or more information, then go to webenglishonline.com/videos. If you would like an online lesson with Skype through video calling, then go to our main website at webenglishonline.com. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and until next time, goodbye.